Comes Angie from, Angie is coming from Grove City. Beloved disciple in Grove City. Hello, Angie. We're just getting started. We're just making sure everybody can see and hear. Angie, just for you to know, Mary Hicken will be our tech support. So if you have any issues, just send a little chat to Mary and she'll try to help you. And Kate Wilson will be gathering questions throughout the workshop. So if you have questions about something, then just send Kate a message and we will look at the questions or answer the questions at the end of the workshop. So again, welcome everybody. And you know, why are we here? Why are we doing these things across Zoom? Well, we know that during this time, it's not possible for us to be in relationship how we normally are. So you know, when we were in person and doing our classes in person and we were traveling and things, being in person was the way we were. But we do know that even during this time of pandemic, we can create, and we know that ministry, that the human touch of ministry is very important. And we can create that human touch of ministry even though we're in Zoom. If we're in Zoom land or Google Meet land or in Skype land or in Facebook land, we can create that human touch of ministry just by making connections, by the way we welcome people, by the way we pay attention to them. So there's ways that we can make connection on this. So it's very important for us to continue that human touch of ministry, even though we're not physically present. Also, we want to invest in our people because our people are our most valuable asset. So we really want to value them by bringing them the best content that we can. And right now, this is the way that we can do that. So we want to invest in our people and we value them. So those are the reasons why it's important for you to be here and doing your job. And you see that and you're going to take that back to your people and create that atmosphere where you are. And I know that there are people who are doing hybrid things of sometimes coming to class, sometimes going or being virtual. Those connections are very, very important. So again, that's why we're doing these workshops, to give some tools and some confidence to you and to be able to create that human touch of ministry, even though we might be virtual. So again, I really welcome you here. We're glad that you're here, and we're going to start as we start all things in prayer. So I just invite you to just kind of settle yourself and take a couple of deep breaths and bring yourself fully present, fully here. And so we pray. Loving God, creator of all things, you call us to be in relationship with you and others. Thank you for calling us to be evangelizers, for the opportunity to share with others what you have given to each one of us. May all those with whom we share the gift of faith discover how you are present in all things. May they come to know you, the one true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. May the grace of the Holy Spirit guide our hearts and lips, so that we may remain constant in loving and praising you. May we be witnesses of the gospel and ministers of your truth. May all our words and actions reflect your love. And we ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen. And so just, I'm going to kick it over to my lovely colleague, Jessie. But just before I do, if any of us are speaking too fast, too slow, not loud enough, please let us know by just sending us a message or something. That way, we will be able to slow down or speed up or talk louder, softer, that thing, but just we want to be engaged with you. So, but sometimes if we move around or things are, the sounds could shift. So anytime you're having difficulty, please let us know. Jessie, I turn it to you.
Thanks, Deacon Steve. Hi, friends. I'm Jessie Hubert. My title is Director of Faith Formation for Parish Support. I know most of you, but not all of you, and I'm so glad to make more connections today. I'm going to talk to us a little bit about why we're here so that it's very clear you have a good sense of where we're going, and we're going to start big picture, and then we're going to get a little bit more micro level. So big picture, why are we here? Our goals for the day. As Steve said, we're investing in you. You're our people. We appreciate the ministry that you're doing, and we want to help expand your comfort level and confidence level. There are a lot of things that are unsure and uncertain, and folks are finding their way really creatively in ways that are going to work for their parishes, which is beautiful. We want you to know how much we value your ministry and what you're doing. And so we want to support you however we can. So for some parishes, learning how to use Zoom is a really great way of practical support. So that's what we're here to do today. We're going to share practical tools. We're not just going to philosophize about these things. We're going to teach you how to do them, give you a chance to practice them, so that you can start implementing these things as soon as this fall, if you choose to. We also are going to talk to you about a number of different platforms. In this 101 session, we're going to talk about Zoom and Google Meet. And next session, we're going to talk about both of those things as well as social media. So we're going to let you know about a couple of different options that are out there, and you can choose the one that fits for your program's needs. And we also want to talk about how to run meetings that are high quality meetings, high impact meetings. It's one thing to just be able to log in and get by, but it's another thing to really show that measure of hospitality to the people to whom we're ministering by doing things that are really high quality and well done, as well as ethical, because child protection hasn't gone anywhere just when we move online. In fact, it's just as important as ever. So those are our goals for today. You can hang your hat on those things. Those are the things that we'll be talking about. A couple of other details, so winnowing the view a little bit. This is our agenda for today. So if you're wondering what we're going to talk about, if you want to get a sense of it, this is how we're going to move through. All of us in Faith Formation, the 5 directors, had something to do with this. I also want to shout out Jillian, whose name is not attached to any of these things, but she's very much a part of our team, and she has a big piece in the 201 workshops tomorrow. So you'll get to hear or see all of us pretty much between today and tomorrow. So that's our agenda for how we're going to spend our morning. The next thing is, you know, if we were hosting a meeting in person, one of the first things we would say is, if you need to use the restroom, please feel free to get up, and here's the ladies' room and the men's room. There's no need to identify where your restrooms are in your own home or office where you are now, but that measure of housekeeping still applies. So the Zoom equivalent of where your bathrooms are, who are your support people? So Steve announced, thank you so much to Kate and to Mary. They could both give us a little wave. They're our support folks. So if you go and you see the red circle on the screen there, so you have a chat option if you're on a desktop or an iPad, but you also have that chat option on your phone as well. So you can use chat and then click in the drop-down menu the name of the person you want to chat with. Sometimes in Zoom meetings, you can chat with anybody. This time, we're just keeping it focused so you can chat with the members of our team that are hosting the meeting. So choose Kate if you're hearing about content about Zoom or Google or something else, and you say, man, I hope they answer my question about XYZ. Send that to Kate, and she'll make sure it's included in the Q&A. And if you have an issue with sound or technology or connection or your video, send a message to Mary, and she'll be at the ready for you. All right, and the next thing, and so this is sort of getting a little bit more practical. So this is experiential learning for us today, as well as our first piece of teaching for the rest of the session. So Zoom etiquette. You know, it's funny when we're in a meeting with other people physically in a room, there are things that as adults, as professionals, that just go without saying around what etiquette is when you're in a meeting with other people. Some of those things such as, may I take your coat, or people silence their cell phones, or, you know, folks make eye contact with the presenter. Those are things you don't have to remind people to do. You just kind of know when you're in person. There are also etiquette things on Zoom that are increasingly growing to be an understood expectation for people who use Zoom. But if you've never used Zoom before, then how are you supposed to know them? So we're going to go over a couple of those today, and you can put these in your tool belt as things that you can implement in all of your Zoom or online meetings in the future that your guests will be expecting, and if you practice these, you'll be showing good hospitality. Steve mentioned this first one. The first is mute unless you're speaking. It's not because we don't want to hear your voices. We do. There will be times that we ask you to unmute. But there can just be really practical things about hearing an echo or feedback in different microphones when too many microphones are on at once. So that's a good way to show care and compassion for the presenters, is to mute unless you're speaking. And if you have a question about how to do that, there's a little image on the screen, but you could also message our friend Mary. Secondly, whenever we see your smiling face, we have to smile and ask ourselves, you know, whatever James Taylor said. But remember that part of what's cool about Zoom is when we're far away, we can still see each other's faces. And so if we're camera set up the right way, you can see hand expressions, and you can really feel like you're communicating with folks. You have the option, you can see in the image on the screen, that you can mute your video, but we appreciate you turning them on. And that's our preference for our gatherings like this, because part of what we're trying to do is help you feel connected to the other people who are doing this work across the diocese like you. And it helps to see everyone's faces. Now, the flip side of that, I deliberately chose an uncomfortable picture of myself here. So when your video's on, it's also on. So if somebody walks by behind you, or your dog jumps on your lap, you know, that's okay, that's life and that's happening, but it's good to be aware that people can see what's on your video. So we encourage you to have your video on, and we encourage you to practice good etiquette of being mindful of what people can see on your video. And then lastly, this is another etiquette thing, and these norms might change depending on what room you're in and how people want to run their meetings, but for us, those nonverbal communication methods are still so important to us. We want to know if you like something or if you don't understand something, and sometimes those things can get lost over Zoom. However, Zoom has a handy reactions tool built in here. So if you look at the bottom of your screen on your desktop or on your iPad, you'll see a little button that says reactions. It's in the circle. So if you click that, you have two options. You can give a thumbs up. Oh, Mary, thank you. Or you can do applause. That's what that other one is. So those are ways of showing the speaker that you connect with what they're saying, which can be really helpful. Again, as a speaker, when you're running a meeting, sometimes you might say, I'm not getting that real-time feedback. I'm not sure if people were understanding what I'm saying. So we encourage you today, good job, Anne, thank you, to practice using those reactions, because it's another level of engaging in the meeting, the same way that you would engage in other ways if we were physically in the same room. And I will say that if you're on your phone, at the bottom menu bar of your Zoom on your phone, there's a little 3 dots that says more. And if you click that, reactions are an option there as well. And then the last thing is to please multitask mindfully. So one thing that's great about Zoom is that you can be doing a lot at once. You know, you're listening, you're watching, you're engaged, you're aware of your body language, you're using the reactions, you're using the chat. Some people find that level of multitasking very stressful. So if that's stressful to you, that's okay. It's enough to have you here and present. That's good. Just know that those tools are available. The more you use Zoom, it's very likely that you will grow more comfortable multitasking and taking the full advantage of what the platform can offer you by taking advantage of those tools. At the same time, it can be tempting when you're on Zoom, you know, if your daughter texts you and you just want to respond really quick, or you got a Facebook notification and so you're looking on your phone or your iPad to see the notification. Those are just not good etiquette for Zoom. So it can be tempting because we're in a digital space, we're in our home or our office, and you know, and it happens, and it's real life. I have 2 children at home. Sometimes they run into the screen and they need me to help them with something, and you know, there's a level of grace that we can extend to folks for that. But we do encourage you that that not only to the presenter, but to other people in the room, there's an awareness of people who are engaging mindfully or people who are disengaged. So be aware that those things come through on the screen. So those are just some levels of basic etiquette. For those of you who use Zoom pretty regularly, some of that might seem to have not needed mentioning. But for those of you who are new to this platform, it's really good to know that there are these norms out there so that you can continue to explore them and make them your own and get the most out of the platform. Does anybody have any questions for me about that? If you learned something new there that you haven't ever learned or thought about before, give me a thumbs up reaction. If you feel like you pretty much knew all of that, but it was a good refresher, give me an applause reaction. That's good, or real-time applause. Thanks, Rita. Rita, I feel the love. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm gonna pass it on now to Mary. She's gonna talk about another form of etiquette in a really beautiful way, is how do we care for people? How do we care for our young people? So she's gonna talk to us about child protection over Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. Some of you have to do your meetings with children, and so I just wanted to give you a couple little requirements from our diocese and the protocols we have in place for when you're meeting with children. Our diocesan rule is that if you have children in your meeting, that you must have two adults with clearances on the meeting with you for the whole meeting, not somebody walking in and out. They have to be on the meeting with you. Now, the only thing that you could do aside from having two adults with clearances, if you have one adult with clearances and one parent who can be on, that's acceptable, because sometimes it's hard to find two catechists or two adults who can be on the same meeting who have clearances because everybody's got such busy schedules. So your requirement is to have either two adults with clearances or one adult with clearances and one parent. And again, the parent has to be on the entire time of the meeting. Now, somebody asked once, can my husband be my second adult on the meeting? Yes, if he has the proper clearances. If he's just somebody who's going to be on to have two adults, it's not acceptable. He should be somebody who has clearances in addition to whoever's leading the meeting. Okay, and one of the other questions we've had was, do I need permission for my child to participate, or for these children to participate in the Zoom meetings or the Google meetings or whatever platform you're using? If you have communicated to the parents the format of the meeting, that you're going to be doing online meetings, and they've signed your registration forms and all the permission slips that leaders have to send out, for example, then you do not need anything additional. You already have their permission, as long as you communicate to that to them. If you have emails from them that you've traded that says, we're going to be doing our classroom on Zoom, save those emails. Print them out if you can and put them in a file, but save them. And then you always have proof that you have the parents' permission. Make sure your pastor knows what's going on. You shouldn't be holding Zoom meetings or Google meetings with children if your pastor doesn't know what's going on. Always the pastors and parents should be included in the information about what's happening. Now, some of you are doing adult faith formation or young adult meetings. You don't need the child protection information for that, but it's always good to have. So it's good to have that knowledge just in case children show up in your meeting for some reason. But we're going to send you a copy of the diocesan policy on having children on online meetings. So that'll go out with the packet of other stuff that we have when we send it out at the end of the week. So I just gave you the very briefest basic information about child protection on the online meetings. If you have more questions, I can answer a couple here, or we can wait till the end, or you can email me privately. Cindy Zemchek is our child protection expert. She works for the Office of the Protection for Children and Youth for our diocese, and she's easily accessible for answers. She has more answers than anybody could even imagine for all the questions you have. So if you want to get a hold of Cindy, I can give you her email, or you can find her on the diocesan website and call her or email her with questions also. Okay? Is there anything I need to answer right away for someone? So far, so good. Okay, well, I'm going to kick this over to Kate. Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Mary. So this is the time when you get a pop quiz. Deacon Steve asked you 3 questions when you came in, and you probably didn't even recognize he was asking them. But my little section is about those 3 questions. You can unmute yourself and just call out if you remember one of the questions he asked you when you popped onto the meeting, or maybe one that you heard him asking somebody else, other than the weather. That's not.
Can you hear okay?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Desi. So that's 1. Okay, team, we got 1 out of 3. Anybody else remember one? Ooh, Deacon Steve's got a clappy clap. Good to go. Anybody remember another one?
Can you see me?
Can you see me? Awesome. Awesome. So that's 2. What else do you think is like mission critical for a Zoom? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Actually, I'm not sure he asked this question. I'm gonna have to revise my section. So
Of
the other
course
one
I
was,
did,
can
Kate.
I hear you? You did? You figured, okay. So it's really critical that not only can you hear the other person, but they can hear you. And then can I see you? And so this little like 5-minute gig I've got going here is how do you make sure that you look, sound, and can hear as well as you can over Zoom? First one, looks are everything. No, I'm kidding. Looks are not everything, but I'm gonna start with looks. And there are 3 tricks that can go from like mediocre, okay, just good enough, to like amazing YouTube looks. And they're so easy. What I'd like you to do right now is on a piece of paper, if you have one right next to you, to just jot down, or in the chat box, but you don't have to hit enter to send it. Just jot down what you may think 1, 2, or 3 of those key things are to make your video look even better. So what can I do to make my video look good? I'm just going to give you maybe 20 seconds to write that down and commit. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for playing along. It makes it so much more fun when you guess with me. So what I have is 3 cards. I'm going to announce the card. If you had that on your list, you can either give us a reaction, like a thumbs up reaction, or literally give me a thumbs up. So you can do the little, this deal, or give me an actual thumbs up. Did you think it had something to do with where you put your camera? Yeah, awesome. You guys are like, you are amazing. So your camera, where you actually put the camera, has a huge impact on how good you look on the actual camera. The 2 key things to remember: keep your camera at eye level and keep it about 18 inches to 2 feet away from your face. That's gonna make your face look normal size. Let me show you something. Right now, I can look directly at my camera. It matches my eyes. It doesn't match my nose. It doesn't match my lap. Watch what happens if I put it a little bit lower. I'm still in the middle. My face is still normal size. I don't quite look like me. It looks a little bit different. And that's because my camera isn't at eye level. Sometimes somebody writes in the chat box and I can't quite see because I didn't bring my reader glasses or whatever, and I like lean in to try and find it. That looks a little bit different too. So if you keep your face about that 18 inches, 2 feet away from the camera and keep the camera at eye level, it instantly kind of crisps everything up for you. So there's your first hint. Are you ready for the second one? You're just staring at me right now. Okay, there we go. Your second one is lighting. So your lighting doesn't have to be professional. I'm not asking you, oh yes, way to go, you all are amazing. So your lighting does not have to be professional. When the Faith Formation team started doing a lot of social media stuff, we looked into what kind of things, what hardware do we need to buy so that we look good. What we found out, if you keep your lighting above you and in front of you, it's often just fine. It's not professional lighting, but you look normal if you keep the lighting up and a little bit over. Right now, I have my office lights on and I'm kind of close to a wall. So they really are above me and a little bit in front of me. I had this great experiment I was going to show you about how when you get in front of a window and the light behind you is brighter, it looks weird, but it's cloudy out today. So I'm going to try it anyway. Oh, yes. Okay, so you see how when the light is behind me, it looks a little bit weird. It washes me out a little bit. It's hard to see the background. It's a little distracting. So if you just keep the light up and in front, you're going to be good to go. The last one, this is the one I failed at, and I'll show you why. The last one is your background. Anybody think about a background? Whoa, awesome. You guys are amazing. So the background should really be simple, but a little bit personal. Simple because you want people to be able to focus on you. You don't want them focusing on all of the things that are happening in the room behind you. But you'd also like a little bit of personality to happen in there. And right now, you see that I love Divine Mercy Jesus, but like this is a blank wall. So it's not super personal. I could improve things there. I'm gonna call out my friend Jessie, who has some nice family photos on her wall and a nice solid little curtain behind her, which by the way is blocking a window, so she's not getting backlit. She just put that curtain there. So it's simple, it's not distracting you from Jessie, but it has a little bit of personality. Mary has a cute little jar in her background, and it might be a conversation starter, and you know, she doesn't have distracting things back there in 7,000 piles of projects. But you see the person is highlighted when your background is simple and a little bit personal. So when you think about your camera, can I see you? What you want to think about is, where is my camera? It should be at eye level, about 2 feet away. You want to think about, where is my lighting? It should be up and forward. And you want to think about, how is my background? It should be simple and personal. Okay. Off the visual, onto the audio. What do
Kate, can we
need?
pause really quickly?
Yes.
I think maybe Daria had a question. I noticed that she had
great.
used the raise her hand feature. So Daria, I just want to give you a chance to ask your question.
All right, can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Yay, okay. That's because I've got my phone here. And that's why
Uh-huh.
I'm not looking nicely positioned because my phone is here on the back. Okay,
Sure.
so my question is, using Zoom on the telephone, I have it suddenly flipped to the screen where I just see 4 different people, and I can't get back to any of the other screens where I can see all of you, or I can see the main speaker, and I'm hitting things and hitting dots here and nothing is happening.
So all you need to do is just take your finger and slide to the right. And if that doesn't work, slide to the left.
I'm sliding it,
main
it's
screen?
stuck halfway, it's doing nothing.
Okay, Daria, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on with Mary, and she can help you with that tech question.
I mean, I'm still watching you on the computer. I see what I should be seeing there, but I'm frustrated by my telephone. So it's not a big deal.
No, it makes sense. You can chat with Mary and get that part figured out, but I'm going to keep moving on here. And thank you so much for that question. I know it's frustrating when, when it doesn't look like what you expected.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about audio, the 2 key parts are, can I hear you, right? First, you want to hear your folks. And how do you need to, what happens if you're not hearing somebody? What are 2 main things to kind of pay attention to? First one, I can't tell you how many times I or someone I've worked with have not had their computer volume up. So first thing to check is my computer volume up? Is my Zoom volume on? And then the second one is, am I using the right speaker? I'm going to show you how to check that after I talk about the next piece, which is the microphone, because they're both under the same button. After you can hear people, you want to make sure that they can hear you. So sometimes there's a problem on their end with speakers, but if there's ever a problem on your end, or if you ever need to make sure that others can hear you, what should you do? First, test it with a friend. And second, make sure that the space around your microphone is clear, because sometimes if you're working next to a pile of things, or on my phone, my microphone's actually on the bottom. So if I hold my phone like this, people can't hear me. So figure out where your microphone is on your actual computer and make sure that the space around it is cleared so you're not muffled. one last interactive piece for you that has to do with audio. If you take your mouse and just hover, so take it down to the bottom, you'll see that whole row of options pop up. And right next to your Zoom button or your mute button, there's an arrow that points up. I want you to click on that up arrow. You're going to see a list of options. The first one says select a microphone. If someone has trouble hearing you, sometimes it works to fix it by just switching the microphone. Right now I have 2 options. You may have more. You may have just one. But if you have more than one option and they have trouble hearing you, just click the other option, the one that does not have a check mark next to it. Same with your speaker. And if you ever need to test this and you don't have a friend, on that third section of options, the first thing you'll see is test speaker and microphone. Can you give me a thumbs up virtually or in real life if you found that? Okay, great. So that test speaker and microphone will first let you know if it's working, but also it'll automatically switch. If you answer like, no, I can't hear, or no, it's not working, it'll automatically try another speaker or microphone if it's hooked up for you. You guys are amazing. You not only, as a team, guess all the things that you need to do to have an awesome camera and visual appearance, you figured out what was most critical on a Zoom, that you could see and you could hear and they could hear you. So you're great. I'm going to pass this off to Steve right now, who's going to talk a little bit more about the nitty-gritty of how do I actually get a Zoom meeting started.
Thanks, Kate. First and foremost, I want to do 2 shout outs. One to Tia, who joined us as we were already in progress. So Tia, hello from St. Mike's in Greenville. And to Nick Heiss, who is in the background with Samantha. So Nick, you really need a haircut, man. But welcome to both of you. No, man bun works, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, is it all right if I just like pin it back? I'm
Yeah, you
almost
can do
there.
that. Yeah, you can do the man bun. So that's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, I'm going to do a little walkthrough of what you do to set up an actual Zoom meeting. And you know that this workshop is really the nuts and bolts of things. So it's the very basic things. We'll get into some more facilitation things in the 201 session, but this is the very basic 101. I don't know about you, but I remember clearly my very first experience on a Zoom meeting, and it was terrifying. My first experience on a Zoom meeting was for a job interview. It was a job interview with L'Arche USA, so we weren't in the same city, we weren't in the same state, we were across the United States. And actually, the people on the interviewing committee, one was in Australia and one was in Ireland. So, I had never heard of Zoom before. I was sent this link. I had no idea what to do. Did I need to do software? All that stuff was going through my mind. So I had that fear of, oh, this is something new. I've never done it, and I have to look good on this. So I don't know about you, but did anybody have any fears when you did your first Zoom meeting? Can anybody share a little thing of what your fear was? This is an opportunity to unmute yourself and say, yeah, this scared the bejesus out of me. What was it? Come on, share your fears.
I personally started trying to get on Zoom like an hour ahead of time. And by the time I got on, the meeting had been a half hour in. So.
Yes, thanks for sharing that, Bob. Yes, yes.
So for myself, the first time I really ever used it was for youth ministry at the beginning of COVID. So getting everything in line with all the people with clearances and this and that was no problem. But I guess my biggest fear was like, am I going to be able to use this well enough that the kids are going to want to continue to use this until we can meet again? It was slow to start, but it ended up coming along. So, but yeah, it's making sure that I don't screw up for them.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nick. Thanks. Any other fears?
Yeah, that my
Also-
computer wouldn't work, and in fact, it doesn't. That's why I'm using a phone.
Yeah, very good, Daria. Yes. And just to share too, I went on early for my interview Zoom. Everything was working. I shut down, I went back and it wouldn't work. And I had to shift to a totally different computer 5 minutes before the interview started. It was like I was sweating bullets. So sometimes technology is our friend and sometimes technology is our enemy. So I just want to give you the freedom to say, you know what? I can plan the best thing and there could be a glitch in it in the last minute. Everybody will be forgiving and because they've all experienced it before. So don't be afraid to try new things. So that would be my first advice to you. So I'm gonna now walk us through because, you know, we have to know how to schedule these Zoom meetings and we have to know how to invite people and things. So we're gonna do a little walkthrough right now. I'm gonna share my screen. Everybody see that? All right. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to zoom.us. And then what comes up is my, I want to show you first the plans pricing. So first and foremost, if you're going to host a Zoom meeting, you need to have a Zoom account. And to have a Zoom account, the only thing you need, if you're going to do the free version, is an email address. Preferably, you'll use your work email address, but it could also be a Gmail or things like that. So the free versions, the plans and pricing are right here. And it'll tell you that there are various levels. There's the free, and it'll tell you you have a 40-minute maximum group meeting on the free version. There's also the $149 for a year license, which gives you unlimited meeting time. So you could schedule a meeting for 3 hours if you'd like, or 4 hours. Your people might be tired after 4 hours, I'm sure, but there you have that opportunity. So you can see the pricing plans right there. And they're you know, people say, well, is it going to be too expensive? Really, if you break it down, if you're just using it a couple of people, it's pretty reasonable. If you're getting more into large groups, you might want to look and see if you can get a bulk rate and you can talk to the Zoom people regarding those things. We in the diocese actually just kind of went into a group plan. So we were able to get some good pricing on that, which is why in our building, we have many people who are now using Zoom. So those are the pricing plans. So first and foremost, you have to have a Zoom account if you're going to be the host of a meeting. Then to schedule, you just kind of click to schedule a meeting at the top. And when you get this screen, first you have this topic that says My Meeting. Now you could be boring and say, you know, it's going to just be called My Meeting, or you could come up with a really creative address or a title. You could say best youth group ever, or whatever it may be. You can have a catchy title so that people know that this is you and that they can relate to the title. I wrote my awesome meeting because any meeting I have is always awesome. So that's why I wrote that. You could also do a little description if you'd like. You don't have to, but you can. Next, you'll have when. Well, when am I going to have this meeting? Right now, it's set for August 25th, which is today. It's set for 11 o'clock because that will be the next hour that the meeting would start. But if you didn't want to, you just would click this little calendar and you can pick a day. If it's not, if you're like, as we are right now at the end of the month and you wanted to schedule something for next week, which would be in September, you just click the arrow to the right and you get the September calendar and you choose the date that you would like. I'm going to stick with August 25th, and I'm going to stick with 11 o'clock. Now, you just click on the arrow to get the different times, and you can go scroll up and down. AM and PM, of course, you all know. The duration of the meeting is right here. It starts with scheduled for an hour. You can pick, again, if you have unlimited time frame, you can pick the time that you'd like. Minutes are over here, and they're by 15-minute increments. The other thing that's important, and you might not think that it's important, is making sure that the time zone is the correct. You want to make sure that we are now in the Eastern time zone. So you want to make sure that that's clicked, because if not, you're going to be scheduling things at different times for different people. When I was, again, working across the United States, we had to make, if I clicked Eastern time and sent the link to somebody in Portland, Oregon, it would automatically put it on their calendar at the correct time, because it reads where you are if you have the thing clicked. If you wanted this meeting to be every week, every other week, you would click a recurring meeting, and then you would have the option to choose when does it reoccur. You also then, if you come down, here's the meeting ID that's generated, and it's generated automatically. These numbers right here are how you could join a meeting. If you only had those numbers, you would click on join a meeting, and you could use those numbers to get into the meeting. But here, where it says security, as of September 27th, a passcode or a password is going to be required for your meetings. Right now, I could click that off, and I wouldn't need to use a passcode. But as of September, as I said, 27th, it's going to be required. So again, they give you a number, but you could use, you could just take the numbers out of there and put in any password you would like. So it could be campus ministry, it could be a youth group, whatever. So whatever passcode you use that would relate to your meeting, you would put that in there. Waiting room is the option. When you were all coming in today, you were put into a waiting room. That gives the host the opportunity to admit you when they're ready to have the meeting. Why? Because it's important not to have people walk into an empty room. If I had my camera going and I wasn't in my chair and you were here and there was nobody that you could recognize or nobody here to welcome you, you would think, oh, and is it the wrong time? Did I get the wrong meeting? Is somebody going to be? So it's really important that when we're scheduling these, we put people in the waiting room and give a little message saying, I will be here at 9:45 to let you in and welcome you, and say a nice greeting, welcome. And then to be able to let them in and individually welcome them in. So a waiting room gives you also the security that you know who is actually coming to your meeting and that somebody's not there by mistake. So a waiting room is a good thing. So when you click all those things, there's also other things that we'll get into in the 201 sessions that we'll use in coming up, but this is just 101. You would click save. After you click save is where you then get, you could start the meeting, you can start the meeting right now if you wanted, or you can then choose how you want the invite to go. You have the option of a Google Calendar, an Outlook calendar, or a Yahoo calendar. And you could click on Outlook calendar and the email screen would come up and you would just send the email and the link would go, the invitation to the meeting would go there. If you wanted to create your own email with a message and other things in it, you could click copy the invitation and it will copy the whole invitation and you just paste it into your email account. But that's, and then you just either start this meeting or close out and it will be saved as for when the time the meeting is scheduled to start. So it's very, very simple to host a Zoom meeting and to schedule a Zoom meeting. You can schedule them far out in advance and they'll go on your calendar. You can schedule them for an hour ahead or you can start a meeting immediately. But those are the ins and outs of setting up your Zoom meeting. Any questions? Tia, do you have a question? Or?
I was trying to get my mute off. My question is, okay, so I'm going to have my second and third grade catechists need to do Zoom meetings for about an hour every other week with their families, okay? Yes. I would have to be present for those or they'll have to set their own up. How does that, because I do have people.
If they're going to be using, if they're going to have their own Zoom meeting, then they would need their Zoom account and set that up. You could share it, like if the parish had an account and you weren't using it at that time, they could use your account. They would just need your email address and your password to get into Zoom, and then they could set that up. And they would need to place it on their calendar because if it's under, so that in making sure that they have access to it. And then make themselves the host. So if, like for me in Faith Formation, before all of us had our own accounts, I had we had one account and we shared it across all 5 of us. So they had my email address, the password to get in, and then they would then schedule the meetings that they would have, because I wouldn't go to all of them, but they would, excuse me, they would need to make sure that they made themselves the host so that they would have controls of the meeting. Because if they didn't, I would still be listed as the host and I could break into that meeting anytime and change things. So to give your
would you suggest what you're saying there is a better idea for my catechists than them having their own? I mean, I'm worried about the fact that then it's all on them if I have no ability to even know what's going on. I guess I don't know. It's a realm of worry for me, for the catechists.
Sure.
Running it.
Yeah. So I think for you, Tia, it would probably be wise to have it your account, to give them the ability to schedule when they were, as long as they're not competing for times. And then, and if it's on your account, you'll be invited automatically. They'll need to include themselves on the invitation list, so it goes on their calendar, but you will be invited because it'll come onto your calendar automatically, and you'll have the link. So you'll be able to go into see the meetings, you'll see when they're scheduled. Also, on your account, it shows all of your meetings and when they're scheduled. So it has the dates, the times, the code to get in. We'll have all those in your account.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Deacon Steve, Daria has her hand up for a question.
Okay, Daria.
My question follows up on the previous one. Most of my catechists and the parent helpers are very leery of this process. And everything you just said, I mean, our Zoom classes need to be longer than 45 minutes, therefore they can't be using their free account. You just told the last questioner, Taya, sorry,
Yeah.
what the process is. Well, guess what? I was taking notes and I know I've got it wrong. I need a written handout. Everything you just said, step by step for dummies of how my catechists,
Daria,
what I have to do to get them on what they got to do, because this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Unless I have it written out in front of me, every word simple. Okay.
Yeah. We'll send you those notes. Yep. You'll be getting those notes.
Good.
And also, can I just also point out, when you go on to the Zoom and you click settings, you're at the bottom of that, at the bottom of those there are tutorials there, web-based tutorials, videos, very simple, very easy to follow step by step. So they have those, how to get on, how to host, those tutorials are there.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a question that came in to me in terms of speaking about the legality of sharing one Zoom account, and that there is that issue is in terms of again, Zoom is a business, and so their business is to have this video conferencing platform, and how they make their money is by selling their licenses. And actually during the pandemic, they've been very generous for people in education to give. So when I talked about the free account, it was 40-minute limit. If you tell them that this is for education, you might still be able to get at least 1 hour or the time limit changed. So I would check on that first so to see if then people could use a free account. I'm not sure if it continued all the way in the 6 months of the pandemic, but I know the first 3 months that was there for educators. So I would check with them to see if that's still a possibility. Again, I'm not going to encourage you to have one account and share it with 100 different people so that the Zoom is getting, so you just need to be aware of the ethical duties in sharing accounts. But so did I skate around that issue good enough, Jesse?
It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. And I think that's why it's good Mary's going to present about Google Meet as well, because it's another option for folks if you feel like Zoom might not be the right fit for your team.
Yep. And so very good segue right into Mary, who will go into Google Meet.
All right. I'm going to just talk briefly about the Google Meet as a different option. There's a lot of options out there if you go on and search. I know some of the leaders are using other options such as Jitsi or Cisco, and there are more. We can't show you all of them, and we're not experts at all of them, but I did want to show you a little bit about Google Meet. It's another free app, and you can use this for meetings in classroom setting or small Christian communities or youth groups and young adult groups or other ministries in your parish or your home life if you're doing this for family. So how many of you guys had a Gmail address before you signed up for this workshop? Just show of hands. Oh, so you guys were way ahead. There are a few of you I asked to get a Gmail address. So you have to have a Gmail account or address to use the Google Meet app, okay? So using Google Meet, there's a lot of different things you can do with it, and it's one part of having a Gmail account. I'll let you explore all the rest of the things that you get with a Gmail account in your spare time. So I'm going to show you a short video that gives you a brief explanation of how to set up a Google Meet and some simple features. Now there are hundreds, maybe thousands of videos out there that will show you how to do this. I picked the short one so that we had a little time to talk. But if you ever want to know more, you can go out and do a little search and watch some videos that'll also help you do more things in Google Meet than you'll learn today. But so I'm gonna share my screen with you and set up show you how to set up a Google Meet, okay? Wait. Can you hear?
We can't hear that, Mary.
No? Let me stop it and start again.
Did you click those two buttons on the bottom of the share screen?
I thought I did, but thank goodness the rest of our team is here because they help. See, I'm still not as great at this as some of you guys, so I'm going to share them again, try it again.
Google Meet. If you want to learn how to join a meeting, please watch the video, How to Join a Meeting on Google Meet. There are two ways to set up a meeting. You can start a meeting right away, or you can schedule a meeting. We will cover both. To start a meeting right away, go to meet.google.com. Now click on Join or Start a Meeting. Enter a meeting name and click on Continue. On this page, you can configure the audio and video settings before joining the meeting. Make sure to allow the browser to access your microphone and camera. Otherwise, the microphone and camera will not work. You can turn off your camera by clicking this button. You can turn it back on during the meeting. You can also turn off your microphone. This indicator moves when the microphone is picking up any sounds. Click on More Options and then on Settings to change your audio and video settings. Once you're ready, click on Join Now to start the meeting. This message shows you the meeting information again. You can send it to the other participants or add people manually using this button. Select the people you want to invite and click on Send Email. You are now in the meeting waiting for other participants. Now we are going to review how to schedule a meeting. Open your Google Calendar and click on the Create button to create a new event. Add a title and change the date. Add other guests or participants. To link a Google Meet meeting to this event, click on Add Google Meet Video Conferencing. The new meeting has been created and linked to this event. Add a description if necessary. Finally, click on the Save button. When you're asked to send invitation emails to other guests, click on Send. If you are inviting guests from outside your organization, you will get this message. Click on Invite External Guests. The meeting has been scheduled. When it's time to start the meeting, click on the calendar event to see the details. Then click on Join with Google Meet. After making sure your camera and microphone are working, click on Join Now. You are now in the meeting waiting for other participants. Let's review the settings. In the top right corner, you can see the participants. You can also add people to the meeting here. Click on Chat to send chat messages to everyone in the meeting. On the bottom, you can find the navigation bar. Click on More Details to see the meeting info. Click on the microphone button to turn it on and off. Click on the camera button to turn it on and off. You can also turn on captions by clicking on the Turn on Captions button. To share your screen, click on Present Now, and then on Your Entire Screen. Now select the screen you want to share and click on the Share button. Your screen sharing session has started. The other participants will be able to see your screen until you stop sharing it. To stop sharing your screen, go back to the meeting and click on You are presenting. Then click on Stop Presenting. To leave the meeting, click on the Leave Call button.
Okay. It's just a quick little video to give you some
Need a
basics.
professional website? I created one for our startup using Wix. Let me show you how I did it.
Let's get rid of that. Sorry about that. All right, so there are some advantages to Google Meet. While Zoom has a 40-minute time limit for the free session, Google Meet has a 1-hour time limit for the free session. Now, there are other plans that you can buy. They start at $10 per month per user to have a lot of different other options in Google Meet that you might not have also in Zoom. For example, Zoom has a whiteboard and some of the other things that Deacon Steve is going to show you tomorrow. Google does not. One of the other things that Zoom has is breakout rooms, which again, Deacon Steve is going to show you tomorrow, but they do not have those in Google Zoom yet, although they're working on them. So Zoom has some more features, but Google does have some advantages. For example, the 1-hour meeting. So if you know that you have kids that might take half an hour to get them settled down for a meeting, then you're only left with 10 minutes of instruction time. That's not going to work for anybody. So having the hour time limit is very helpful, and that's in their free suite that you have, or their free app that you have from them. You would have to have your Gmail account, and when you go to your Gmail account, you'll be able to find Google Meets. There's a little button that a grid you can go onto. There's some other different ways, and I've put together a little bit of a presentation that I will send out to you that tells you how to get on Google Meet. And again, you can try setting up a meeting and play around with it. Take some time in the Google Meet app and play around with it. And then when you think you're ready, send me an email. I'll go on Google Meet with you. You can send me an invitation and I'll test it out with you and we'll work our way through it. So I have some other video links I will also be sending you with the instructions for learning some different things on Google Meet. So do we have questions? Go ahead, Tia.
Once again, I think this one is the one I was figuring would be better for them, but it would still put it in their boat to do all this, right? Because that's the other thing, that both of, say, my second grade and my third grade catechists are both wanting to run theirs at 9 to 10. So they would have to create those and run those if that's going to work properly, correct?
Right, because on none of these you can have more than one meeting going at one time under one account. So if you wanted to, if two catechists want to have their meetings at the same time, each of them having their own Zoom or Google account would be very beneficial, because then you don't have to worry about the parish one and them trying to figure out how to schedule around each other.
Yeah, that would be
And-
very hard. Also, I see that Zoom has a recording. Do they do that with Google?
Right now, you cannot record Zoom, Google with the free version. That's one of the paid versions. So that is another advantage of Zoom.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Tia, another option, if your catechists are hesitant about scheduling meetings or something like that, is just to have them have their own account so they know how to log in and they can get things done. But also, if you're sharing passwords and information, like if they give that to you as their supervisor, then that may help your concern about not being able to know and it's all on them. You would have access to everything. They wouldn't have access to your own account, but you would have access to what's happening in their account. And if you were, you had a volunteer or somebody who was really good at this, who could just set up all the meetings for you, if they weren't recurring on a scheduled basis, then somebody else could use those credentials to go in, and they would be like first grade catechesis at St. Michael's at gmail.com or whatever, something short and sweet. But it would, in a sense, be more their work email than a personal email that they're using also to be a catechist.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And it actually might look a little more professional. Like Kate said, it would be their work email, but if their email had a more professional sounding name than Susie Q at so-and-so, you know, might be helpful for your classes. So are there any other questions?
I don't think that I understood exactly when you create the meeting in Google Meet. I know in Zoom, you can copy the Zoom meeting to the clipboard, and then therefore, like then I can send it out in PDFs to everyone. I didn't understand what they meant by external.
Well, first, let me tell you that video was done in March or April, and they've improved things since then. So it's a little bit easier. The only ones that were up to date as of this month were like 15 or 20 minutes long, and I didn't want to have a 15 or 20-minute video. So I chose that one because it was the basics. But anytime you set up a meeting, you have the option to click on copy the link, and then you can send it in your emails. But there's a place where you can add email addresses when you're creating the meeting, and it will just send them to all. They don't differentiate between external and internal anymore. It will just, whatever email addresses you put in there, it will send to all of them. And if you have a Google account that you've used before, it will self-populate. If you start typing in Mary, all the Marys will come up and you can click on one and add them. So you don't have to add each email address individually sometimes. If you're new to Google and have a brand new Gmail address, you'll probably have to type a lot of them in the first time.
Okay, but you could copy and paste
Yes.
the meeting.
You can copy and paste the link and send it out from any email address.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, getting back to Zoom, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Isn't there a place that, like Tia, if you set up the Zoom meeting, you could allow someone else, you could put in an email address to let them be a co-host? I know Deacon Owen did that at one point. He did evening prayer and couldn't be there, so that may help.
Yeah.
And if I missed that, I'm sorry. I had someone in for child protection.
Yeah, on the front page, when you're creating your meeting time, and at the very bottom, there's a space that says alternate hosts, and you just type in their email.
So that might be an idea for catechists, and then they're not, codes.
Yeah, I would just chime in. Any of these meetings that they're setting up, whether you have their password or information for, they should be inviting you all to all of their meetings, regardless, just so that you're aware of when they are and whatnot. So I know that your questions are valid and the nitty-gritty is important, but just on the most surface level, right? Like, make sure they invite you to all these meetings so you're aware of everything that's going on.
And Kate had a question about the alternate hosts for a Zoom meeting. It might be that you need to have or be listed in having a Zoom account. She's had trouble with it before, she said, so I would test that out. So if you just use somebody's email address who wasn't a registered user, just to make sure you test that before you rely on it. The other thing I would say is if you happen to be sharing accounts, it's really important to make sure you know what the schedule is, because if you shared an email address and somebody scheduled a meeting and you came along and scheduled another meeting, you would kick that meeting out. So you have, when you're sharing the same email address and password, creating a meeting, whoever is the last one to create it at the same time is the one that's going to work, and you will kick the other one out. Even if they're already in a session, you could then cancel that session. It would just end and it would start your new meeting. So you have to be very careful that you know what's been scheduled.
All right, so this wouldn't work for us because we're all going to have our Zoom class on the third Sunday of the month at the same time. So we can't have everybody using
the same one. No,
the parish. So so we still are stuck with 45-minute free meetings on the free app, right?
Or Google Meet.
Right, or you can go to Google Meet and everybody can have their own account.
Yeah, right. Okay.
There's also the option to look into if Zoom is still giving free 1-hour meetings for educational purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this actually was the part I was supposed to kick over to Kate for question and answer. So maybe she has some other questions that have come up.
I haven't seen anyone else's questions come through, but if you have another question, it can go all the way back to Jesse's section about etiquette and what to expect and how to kind of prime the pump for your folks about what they should be doing on Zoom, or how to look good, sound good on camera. I know we got into nitty-gritty about Zoom in particular and Google Meet, so floor is open for anything.
Mary, what were the other two sites you had mentioned? Cisco? Is that, how do you spell?
It's CISCO. And to be honest, I don't know a lot about them. I just know these are some of the other ones that some of the leaders have used. And let me find, I actually have a list of things that some of the other leaders have used. Jitsi, Jitsi. There's hundreds of them out there, but I would be very careful to make sure that they have security certificates and that they have a good reputation. I do some research before I used any of them, just to make sure, because I don't know enough about them to recommend or get rid of them. So
one of the other earlier ones before Zoom became very popular was GoToMeeting. And I know there are some limitations with GoToMeeting, but I know that was a popular one before Zoom rose to its fame.
All right, well, if there aren't any questions anymore, and listen, we all know that this is like being in a doctor's office, that the doctor says, are there any more questions? And you say no, and then you sit down in the car and you're like, oh yes, I have 10. So we realize that that's probably gonna happen to you. You're probably gonna get off the Zoom call and say, oh yes, I have 10 now. So please feel free. You can email any of us. You have Mary's email for sure because the invitation came from her, but we're more than happy to keep supporting you as you kind of navigate this new land. But I am going to toss it back to Mary. She has another fun feature of Zoom that we're excited to be using, and it's called polling. So basically, you're going to see a question on your screen. Mary, you can take it from there.
So some of you came into this meeting a little afraid and a little unsure of yourselves and what's going on. So this is just a quick poll we're going to take. We're going to give you about 30 seconds to answer. about how you're feeling about things after this session. And then you can answer, what you do to answer the poll is just use your mouse and click on the choices, and you can choose as many choices as you want in this. So I'm going to launch this poll and give you about 30 seconds to answer. You all see it? Little head nod? Okay.
We should have the Jeopardy music playing.
You can sing, Steve. Deacon Steve, go for it. Okay, I'm going to end the polling now, unless, is there somebody else who wants to answer something, who needs another few seconds?
It looks like we can see that there's still 10 people that haven't answered yet, so.
Okay.
But we can't see who. It is anonymous, just so you know. We just see numbers.
So Jesse's right, about half of you have answered the poll so far. It's a great feature. Do you have to have the paid version for this? Does it, Kate, or do you know offhand? Do they have to have a paid version to do this one, or is it in the free version also?
I think you have to have the paid version to be able to do polling.
Okay. Deacon Steve gives us some polls in the morning when we're signing on for morning prayer. Some of them are pretty good. So. Okay, we still have about 4 of you who have not voted. Well, all right, let's finish it out so that we can let you guys get on to the next thing in your life today. So I'm going to end the polling. Nope, there's one. Well, we're down to one more. There's somebody who hasn't voted. Although, you know what, Daria has 2 screens up, so that might be counting her. So I'm going to end the polling, and then we're going to share the results with you. So it looks like 91% of you are comfortable starting a Zoom session and inviting others and understand the basic strategies for good video and sound quality. Oh, thank you, Kate. So Kate's a good teacher. And
you guys were awesome, though. You came in amazing.
So a lot of you guys know how to use the chat feature and a basic understanding of child protection. That's good. But the numbers are a little low for sharing your screen on a Zoom or Google Meet. Well, we can practice that with you. You know, you'll get better as you go along too.
And that's in 201 as well. We'll do screen sharing in 201.
Yes. So if you're signed up for the 201 sessions tomorrow, you get to spend some more time with us and you'll learn a few more things.
Mary, what a perfect segue for our closing announcements. We didn't even script that. That's amazing. So I'm going to show this on the screen here. So here are our next steps. And firstly, just thank you again so much. There might be those of you in the room who think, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I went to 101. There might also be those of you who think, I did not need 101. Maybe this was too basic for me. So we appreciate your graciousness wherever you fall on that. We're working really hard to meet the diverse needs of our folks. So so be sure to watch. Mary will send out via email all the handouts from this session by the end of the week. We also recorded the Zoom of this session that we'll link to on our website. So that'll go up hopefully by the end of the week as well. And be mindful that, you know, for those of you who are directors or coordinators of faith formation, if you have catechists or other leaders in your parish and you want them to go through this session, we are doing this again tonight at 7 p.m. And Mary sent you the link. So when you registered RSVP, you got the links to all of them. So you have our permission to share those links with other folks in case you want to encourage them to come in person. There is something about being in it and getting the jitters out and practicing if you're not familiar. Otherwise, they will have a recording that they can watch later. It's helpful for us to have the RSVP, but at this point, we just want to get people the content. So another 101 tonight at 7 o'clock, same thing. So you don't need to come back, but if you logged into this late today, we would love to have you join us tonight at 7 o'clock to get that full content as well. Also, reminder that tomorrow we have 2 of our 201 sessions. So we will be building on what we talked about today. Same time, 10 a.m. and also 7 p.m. Just pick one. You don't have to come to both. And similarly, if you want to put those on the radars of your catechists or volunteers, please do. And you have the links in your emails as well. Even if you didn't RSVP, but you think, man, I want to participate, please feel free. And don't forget that really this is just the start. We wanted to get folks the technology basics, but all of this is about doing ministry. All of this is about being the church and helping folks grow in their faith. It's not just Zoom for the sake of Zoom, it's Zoom for the sake of Christ and for the sake of the church. So really the extra fun stuff starts next week with our application workshops. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, different members of our team will be leading different sessions about specifically, okay, now that you know how to use the functionality of these tools in a basic way, there are ways that you can leverage that functionality to be effective with different age groups of folks. So we have a session just about if you are going to be ministering to kids 6 to 12 years old, 13 to 18 years old, 19 to 35, and also adult faith formation. So those are all listed on our website. We would love to have you come. Again, now that you know what this is, tell your catechists or your leaders to join us. Those sessions will be specifically about how do we do community building, how do we do welcoming and belonging for folks on Zoom, how do we make it feel like ministry, because it is. So how can we communicate that, especially for younger folks who are natives to this technology world and might know more than we do. It's sort of an opportunity to get on the same page so that we can really be together as church and as community. So those are the sessions coming up soon. We appreciate, Angie, thank you. We appreciate everybody being here today. Did anyone else from my team, did I miss any announcements here? Okay, good. Well, I think Deacon Steve is going to close us in prayer. We're going to end on time or early. I'm going to kick it over to Deacon Steve for our last piece of prayer.
On time or early, I have 9 minutes of prayer. We're taking the whole thing, baby. No, just for every morning as a team, we gather for prayer, even if it's virtual. Like if we're all not here in this building, we still gather for prayer every morning at 8:45. And every morning at 8:45, we pray for all of you. We pray for all of the needs of our diocese. So really, I invite you to unmute yourself and to just list intentions that you want us to hold in prayer, and then I'll do a closing prayer. So I invite you to anybody who would like to unmute themselves and to just to say an intention.
For my grandparents who may be moving into a nursing home this week.
Sure.
For the fearful of our communities.
For myself, I'm having surgery the 3rd.
Sure.
For my pastor, Father Dan, who is in very bad health with cancer.
For a little baby who was born in my extended family who is currently in the NICU for her recovery and healing.
For the family of who lost their very young child a couple of days ago, and it's their only child, for consolation of this family. And just for my catechists, so they can all get their heads wrapped around everything we have to do this year.
For the start of the school year, for all of our students and our teachers and our administrators, you know, that they are safe and that they are healthy, and that, you know, that God is leading this year. So just trust in God. So we just, you know, he can take away our fears and anxieties if we allow that, if we allow him to do that. So just for our teachers and our administrators, our students too who are fearful. Also for my son and future daughter-in-law, as they're in their last weeks of preparation for their wedding, which looks much different than they started planning last year, but just for their, you know, their peacefulness in all of that, what will be lived on their day. Just, yeah, for all that. So Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time of being together. Even though we are miles apart, we are together here and we are together in you. We ask that you hold all of our spoken intentions and those that are unspoken in, or all our spoken intentions and all those that are, go unspoken in our hearts. Continue to guide, to lead, and to be with us. Help us to be your instruments as we look at bringing you to the faithful of our diocese. For blessings on Bishop Persico and all that he carries, for all what the priests are carrying these days as well, and for all of the catechists, faith formation leaders, for all the fear and anxiety and stress that they're carrying right now. Just be with them as they look at how best to bring your word and your personhood to all of our people. We ask these prayers in your most precious name. Amen. So thank you everybody again. And if you signed up for 201, we'll see you tomorrow. But thanks for being here. And again, as Jesse said, if you have any questions that are lingering, and Kate said as well, please don't hesitate to send those to us and we will respond as soon as we can. Thanks. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. So good to see you all.
Take care.